addictive for us. Okay, so I talked about bad foods for mind and brain so far, both veg and non-veg. So now is the time to look at some good food for mind and brain. Fine. Okay, so there are some particular chemicals that actually, we know a lot of nutrients. We have heard about vitamins and proteins and fats and all that, and their utility in building up body, our bone, our muscles and everything. So I am not covering that. That has already been discussed and many of you already know. So I am only discussing the nutrients with respect to the mind and brain. So there are a lot of things that are important to elevate your mood. So for example, magnesium, tryptophan, folate, B vitamins, they are related to psychoreactant effects because they releases serotonin naturally. Endorphin fights fatigue, nervousness, anxiety and depression. So they help you to fight fatigue, fight nervousness, fight anxiety and fight depression. Then omega-3 fatty acid, they are building blocks to the nervous system, ensure good synapses, axon and dendron, and protection against free radicals. Then fiber, protein complex, carbohydrate, these take longer to break down and it makes mood change more sustainable. So, people who are having mood swing, they can be treated with good amount of fiber and complex carbohydrate and protein of course. Okay, iron carries blood and nutrients to the brain and produces energy, and without iron you tend to feel fatigued. So people who have low hemoglobin, low iron, they feel fatigued all the time. That is natural. So now, what are the foods that we should eat? So in the morning also you asked a lot of questions. So these are few examples of happy hormone releasing foods, unlike the drugs. So the drugs also releases happy hormones, but they have a detrimental effect in the long term, we already saw. And these are foods that naturally releases happy hormones in your brain, and that is sustainable, non-addictive. So we have any leafy green vegetable, we have nuts, they are also rich in omega-3. Okay, and these are not only foods but also some activities are also listed. Okay, so for example, smiling. Smiling also creates happy hormone, even if you artificially smile. That's why there are some laughing clubs. But of course, naturally smiling is better than artificially smiling. So cracking jokes is better than doing exercise. Okay, then you can see red chili, water, green smoothie, almonds, and walking of course. Okay, magnesium is very important ingredient for mind and brain. They reduce stress, they help us to get better sleep, and they relax our nervous system. And some examples of magnesium rich food: sesame seed, sunflower seed, then watermelon, pine nut, almonds, okra. Okra is our lady's finger. Candy, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, spinach, cacao, chives, lot of items. Okay, then some foods to boost your memory, remembering capacity. Again, almonds, walnuts, blueberries, Brussels, broccoli. So we see some items are not available readily in our country. Nowadays everything is available, due to this globalization and all. But still, some items are more common in our country, and we have enough of them. For example, cauliflower, ginger, apple, cabbages, and nuts. So these are memory boosting, elements. Okay. Then I talked about spices related to taste. Interestingly, so probably Indians are more smarter than non-Indians, that they also admit, because we use a lot of spices. Because spices are also related to boost brain and mind. So for example, turmeric, that helps to keep your brain sharp. Okay. Then, so for example, black pepper has a compound called piperine that increases beta endorphin, those are happiness releasing hormone in the brain, and boost also cognitive function. Cinnamon can help prevent Alzheimer's disease. Okay. Oh, clove is also there. Clove has a lot of antioxidant properties. So on. Okay. So as you can see that in all these lists we have all vegetarian foods. Okay? So non-vegetarian foods are out of questions. And sometimes even if some of the non-vegetarian items may have some of these elements in part, but still along with it comes for free the other harmful ingredients that are detrimental to your lungs and to your arteries and to brain functions. So it has some good things and a lot of bad things mixed, and these have no bad things. So that's the difference. So I'm not saying that meat, fish and egg do not have anything. They may have a lot of these things, but with a lot of bad items also. Okay, so there is a report 28 September 2014. So in New York City they did an experiment. They made one school completely vegetarian, and over a few years they found that the performance actually increased. Performance you can measure in terms of number of percentage of students scoring beyond a particular marks or IQ, and these examples have already been discussed, but I will give some examples from sports that require more mind than body. So in the morning you have seen some example of body. These are also here. So just to let you know, Edwin Moses, Carl Lewis, Mike Tyson. Bottom figures you know, I guess. So sports that need more mind than body, because they are talking about mind. Chess, Vishwanathan Anand, he was a complete vegetarian. Pankaj Advani, snooker player, billiards player, many times world champion. And in his interview I have read that he does not take onion and garlic also because it affects his concentration. Okay. So same with Harsha. Some masterminds, we have APJ Abdul Kalam, we have Henry Ford, founder of the Ford company, car company, and Steve Jobs. And you heard about NASA's manned mission in Mars 2030, and NASA has a department which is called AFT, Advanced Food Technology. So they do research on what should be our future generation food, particularly if we go for a space mission, what kind of food we should take in space so that we are agile, we are alert, we don't fall sick, and we can sustain longer. We can keep our body and mind both fit together. And after their research, they are training almost 1,000 astronauts for this training, and they will select a few people from these astronauts to send to Mars in 2030. But the entire set of people they are training, they have mandated that they have to have completely vegan diet. Okay. So then I want to look at evolution of diet. So in the history book, we learned that humans were, carnivore, and we were killing animals, hunting animals, we were basically hunters, and then we learned agriculture much later. That was the thing that we are taught. But let's look at the reality. Dr. Richard Leakey, paleontologist and professor of anthropology, he thinks that anyone who has taken an introductory physiology course might have discerned intuitively that humans are herbivores, which you have also seen in the morning. In the comparison between the anatomy between humans and herbivores and carnivores. Okay. This is an interesting article, 2012 by Rob Dunn, Scientific American again, and he showed by enough data that human ancestors were nearly all vegetarians. So basically, people who promote that the cavemen were non-vegetarians and then people learned agriculture later, what they either don't know or they hide it from you is that before learning agriculture, humans were able to digest cellulose. So people used to eat raw fruits and raw leaves that are grown on the trees. And slowly with agriculture, the cellulose digesting capacity of human beings due to evolution reduced. So now we are having cooked vegetables. So that is one thing. And then with enough historical data, he showed that actually most of the places in the world, most of our ancestors, whatever fossil records have been found, they were all vegetarians. and very few exceptions that we have, very few in number, of consuming non-veg food. Say for example, some food particle becoming fossiled and then that is inspected. So okay, it was consumed, there is evidence. Maybe in the stomach also it was fossiled. So he found that those few cases of non-vegetarian examples occurred because of lack of enough vegetables or lack of enough vegetation around that particular area. So maybe there was a catastrophe, natural catastrophe, or it was simply an area where crops could not grow much, so people had no choice to survive. They had to hunt animals, and then they had to draw pictures of hunting animals on the cave, which are taken to be the proof. But the numbers are very less. So that is important. So there is a difference between survival need and natural, capacity and natural choice. Okay. Then how did we learn, so much? Why, so much meat consumption is happening? So, as the second talk also has told you that industry has lot of role to play. 100 years back from today, there were not too many non-vegetarians in the world that are today. So industry has a big role to play here. And Dr. Neil Barnard also says that early human had diet very much like other great apes, or mainly plant-based diet. And meat eating probably started by scavenging. So what is scavenging means eating the leftovers the other carnivores have left behind. So for example, a tiger kills a deer and does not eat the whole thing, something is left, and then our ancestors roam around that area and they don't find enough vegetables or plants to eat. Then they try that food because it's leftover. They have seen tiger eating it, and then because it is addictive, over a time, so they find that it tastes good. So they have, they have been captured into the taste and the addiction over time. And then, as we saw in the morning, that the habit, becomes part of the culture, and then culture becomes tradition, and then we do not try to think through that which one is natural, which one is not natural. Okay, but so why it is natural? Because even through millions and millions of years of evolution, if meat eating was so natural to human beings, then we should have adapted it over time. Our bodies have never adapted to it. So that is the very strong evidence that this is not our natural food. Had our body adapted to it already, forget about raw meat and raw things. We are now cooking. We are having cooked meats and cooked fish and eggs. Still, those are detrimental to health, and those are causing so many diseases that we have seen, the references. So our bodies have never adapted to it, and that proves that it is not our natural diet at all. Okay. So that was some things about evolution, how it affected the society. And in this social impact, I just wanted to point out few things. Sometimes, as I said, that habit becomes part of tradition. As Swami said in the morning, tradition becomes culture. So, for example, in our society, you have also experienced it, that if you invite someone at home and if you offer vegetarian food, then the guest also feels that, I was not treated, okay, you have to treat me another day better. This was not a treat, okay, for example. And the other way around, the people who invite the guest, that means the host, also have a feeling that, what, you are not eating anything. Oh, I feel so bad, you are not able to eat anything. That kind of a thing. So this whole psychology goes on in the society, and that spreads, and that demotivates people to adopt something which is rational, which is logical, and which is physically and mentally good, just because of the culture and tradition. And we have seen examples also that just culture and tradition does not mean it is correct or it is right or it should be the thing. The examples were given like Shuddha, Pratha and other items, other things. Another thing is style or fashion or peer pressure. So for example, we use leather items for style, but they come from the industry. That also you have seen, so I don't want to elaborate on that. So the next topic is cruelty, violence and ethics related to food. So I want to show you some pictures. Okay, no videos in my talk, so be happy. No videos. So, so do you see any difference would you call the first three as not murder and the fourth one to be murder? I mean, I don't see any difference. All of these are murders. Okay, so this is an acid burn face and this is grilled meat. So is there any difference? We say it is our need to live. We have to need. But animals kill for need, and we are worse than animals because we kill for greed. We don't need it. Neither our body nor our mind. Nothing. Next, we'll look at some ethical perspective from our great philosophers and scientists. For example, Pythagoras, everybody knows, everybody learns Pythagoras theorem in school, right? And what he felt is for as long as men massacre animals, they will kill each other. And he who sows the seed of murder and pain cannot reap joy and love. So we talk about global harmony, global peace. We talk about tolerance. We talk about no war between nations. But these are all useless because we are inherently acting on violence and we are directly or indirectly promoting violence through our food habit. And that is sustained in our psychology either consciously or subconsciously, and that is acting as a catalyst behind the so-called violence activities of human beings against humans. So that's what Pythagoras, a great mathematician and philosopher, felt. Leonardo da Vinci, famous scientist as well as artist, he said the time will come when men such as I will look upon the murder of animals as they now look on the murder of men. I think it will come very soon as you look at the cigarette industry, for example, say 1970s movie, even when, so we have detective movies, right? So there the main character is shown to smoke and have ideas. So smoke, the root of intelligence, right? Buddhir gorai himata. So that's the thing. So it was shown and it was followed. Now if you watch the same movie, you will see that okay, smoking kills, that tag will be there associated. If you watch an old Feluda movie, you will see, you will know what I am talking about. So if that can happen to cigarette, this will definitely happen to meat, but it will take time. Leo Tolstoy, he writes in The Pathway of Life, Teaching Love and Wisdom, that men think it is right to eat animal because they are led to believe that God sanctions it. Okay, some people on the basis of religion they talks about eating meat. I will cover that point later in my talk. But what Tolstoy is saying that okay, for the sake of argument, let's say some books are saying okay, meat eating is okay. But what he says that no matter in what books it may be written, that it is not sinful to slay animals and to eat them. It is more clearly written in the heart of man than in any books that animals are to be pitied and should not be slain any more than human beings. We all know this if we do not choke the voice of our conscience. Thomas Alva Edison, inventor of motion picture, camera and light bulb. Non-violence leads to the highest ethics, which is the goal of all evolution. Until we stop harming all other living beings, we are still savages. Albert Einstein, he was also a vegetarian, and it is my view that the vegetarian manner of living by its purely physical effect on the human temperament, so this is related to mind, would most beneficially influence the lot of mankind. George Bernard Shaw, there is a poem, I don't want to read it. Okay. Basically it talks about we are making our body a graveyard. You know about Kellogg cornflakes, and this Kellogg cornflakes is due to these Kellogg brothers. One of them was doctor, the other one was industrialist, and they were vegetarians and they were sad to observe that in the breakfast normally there is no vegetarian option other than this egg and etc. So that is why they started the Kellogg company, and all their products are vegetarian. So many people are asking for options. This is one example. Okay. So Kellogg cornflakes is one example. To quote Mahatma Gandhi, so to my mind the life of a lamb is no less precious than that of a human being, and the second one I like more, the greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. Another thing that sometimes we say that okay, Bengalis need to eat non-veg food, However, according to me, there is no more Bengali than Tagore. Okay, he is probably the best Bengali of all time. And if you read his letter to Indira Devi Chaudharani 1894, he says we manage to swallow flesh only because we do not think of the cruel and sinful thing that we do. That's with all of us. Remember that when you consume any dish or any dish of say meat or fish or eggs, you do not think what act was there behind this food. You normally see it as a food. That's why you have it. But if you think what act was done in order to have this food in your table, then you will never be able to eat it. So Tagore also says the same thing. That cruelty is a fundamental sin and it admits of no arguments or no nice distinction. And then he says, okay, if we are not so callous, then we should stop it and all these things. And in fact, after this, Tagore became vegetarian. So Isaac Singer, Nobel Prize in Literature. So this is another thing that people say that humans have always eaten animal, which I have shown proofs against it from this evolutionary evidence from fossil records that ancestors were mostly vegetarians. But what he says that even if for the sake of argument we assume, say our ancestors were non-vegetarians, all cavemen used to eat it. But still that does not justify eating it now, because then according to this we should not try to prevent people from murdering other people, because that also has been done since the time immemorial. People have fought over land in order to acquire land, one country over other nation. That also has been done. That has been so natural. So therefore it should be promoted according to Islam. So that just because something has been done does not mean it has to be done in the future. Okay. Okay. So this is another interesting point. So I will just identify the key issue. So many people say that what about the animal counts? In the morning also it was discussed that if counts were important, then we would have only killed or hunted. But we have now factory farms, we have industry which are artificially growing animals. So it's not that if we don't eat, animals will fill the world. If you don't eat, this artificial farming will not be there, and only natural amount of animals will be there, and nature would balance it automatically. Nature has its own way of balancing. Okay. So in Princeton University there is a department of bioethics, and Professor David Singer, he says that we do not normally take the behavior of animals as a model for how we may treat them. We would not, for example, justify tearing a cat to pieces because we had observed the cat tearing a mouse to pieces. So carnivorous fishes don't have a choice about whether to kill other fish or not. They kill as a matter of instinct. But humans can choose to abstain from killing or eating fish and other animals. So it is not in our instinct. So that's what he says from bioethical points of view. Okay. Then he goes on to saying that if it was natural instinct and okay, if it's part of the nature, people say, then that same argument can justify all kinds of inequalities, including the rule of men over women, because that is also natural, and including our win of the strong over the weak. So you don't have to protect the weaker part of the society. So that argument can be given. So another logic is that everybody does it. So why me? Why I should care? So a lot of people also do rape, acid attack, eve teasing, murder. Do you? You don't question, right? In the newspaper, if you open every day, these news are there every day. But then do you ask? A lot of people are doing it. Why I should stop doing it? No. Then how do you differentiate? Habit also is no excuse, because you are stronger than your habit. Okay. Another argument could be there, but I eat in small quantity. Of course, eating small is better than eating a lot. Eating nothing is better than eating small. So those who are convinced, they may try to reduce it slowly over a period of time. But the argument that okay, I eat very small, so I don't have to stop. Doesn't make any sense, because that small quantity also comes at the cost of one life, and the chickens do not donate their body parts to you. Okay, so here is one piece. Even if you eat one piece, they have to kill it. The other argument, so we are animal lovers, so we will not kill mosquito. But the problem is, the mosquito comes and attacks you. Does the hen come and attack you? So killing for our own survival is always allowed. Even in the book of law, if you have to kill someone who is trying to kill you or attack you, you are not punished. So that's a totally different story. That argument does not stay. Another important thing that actually bothered me when I tried to think about this topic is that child psychology and parents' hypocrisy. Children see a lot of cartoons, right? Disney cartoon. So these are some example. Donald Duck, then Finding Nemo, about the fish, shark tale. There are many. Almost everything. Jungle Book. Everything is about animals. And in all these cartoons, we show how to love animals. You know, how they are lovable, how they are intelligent, how humans and animals live together. But then when it comes to food, we totally make them forget this thing. So when we say give a duck meat or a chicken meat to our child, we forget that this chicken is of the same species of Donald Duck. So it's totally counterintuitive, and to me it is totally puzzling. I don't know how people do it. I mean, if they meat, then they should always ban cartoon. Okay, these are bad. Because animals are to be eaten, not to be played with. And where do you draw the line? So whether it's a pet or your food. So you have a pet, you love it. If it is wounded, you take it to the hospital. And then if it is food, you don't care. So how do you differentiate? Now the next most important argument. So what about killing plants? Because plants have also life, and if we consume food, we have to kill them. So in terms of ethical point of view, you should eat nothing. Again, as I said, the point is survival. And let us look at the facts. In most cases, killing is not necessary for plants. As I gave the examples, for chickens you cannot take the leg, and still the chicken will not be will be healthy, in a good shape, it will grow. It's not like that. In most cases, killing is not necessary. We consume fruits, flowers and leaves as most of the vegetables. Think of the pumpkin or the loki, or any vegetable that you can think of. Mostly they are fruits or they are leaves of the plants. Very few cases you consume the entire plant. When we kill the entire plant or when we consume the entire plant, if you think, go back to your biology book, you have classification of plants that annual, biennial, perennial, right? 1 year living plant, 2 year living plant, many year living plant. So think about rice and wheat. The plants themselves are yearly plants. So after 1 year, they die and they are harvested. So they have lived their full life. But when we eat a chicken or a beef or a pork, do we prefer an old diseased animal? It has lived his full life, so it's okay. We can. Or we go for baby chicken, kochi pata. So there is the difference. Third point. So plants have no central nervous system or any specialized tissue or organs to feel pain. So when we tear a plant or take something from the plant also react, but that is more